Alex Boris.
This is Alex Boris. He's the central figure in a new kind of election. Go ahead, let's look at his media kit. So this guy right here, the guy standing by the subway, trying to get people to talk to him. He is candidate for US representative in a district in Manhattan, one that is heavily Democratic and always will be.
New York's 12th district.
But why is he the subject of dueling ads?
Yet another reason Alex Boris is a hypocrite.
He is at the heart of a battle between trillion-dollar AI interests. 2026 is going to be the first AI election. I am going to map it all out for you. Oh my gosh. This is very daunting. But it is not just a map of this election. It's a map of the future. And I think it's a map of the politics that's going to govern elections to come.
Alex Boris.
So I'm going to untangle this map that I've made of big AI players, candidates, and all the politics that is going into this election. And I think by the end, you'll be able to understand quite a bit of it. Now, I think if you're watching a video about politics in AI, you might have one or two things on your mind already. You might be thinking about the recent dispute between Anthropic, a large AI company, and the Department of War over how their models would be used.
Anthropic is rejecting an ultimatum from the Pentagon.
Anthropic's demands that any military use of its AI must come with significant guardrails.
We believe that crossing those red lines is contrary to American values.
You might also be thinking about data centers. Their real estate usage and power usage has become a center of local controversies.
Protesting a massive new data center, a dark side.
Many protesting outside and inside.
Both of these things are some of the issues that are coming up with politics in AI.
Data centers? I think that's what we need around here. Data centers to data our data. That's what Americans need for a more American America.
But the real story is a lot twistier and a lot more interesting.
A phrase you hear a lot is that some of these AI PACs and organizations are borrowing from the crypto playbook.
They are like one for one.
That's one of the reasons I'm really glad I got to talk to Veronica Irwin. She is a policy reporter at Transformer. It is an AI newsletter, basically. And her focus is on super PACs in AI. And before she shifted to the AI beat, she was on the crypto beat.
We will have a story out about a guy named Chris Lahane. If you're not familiar with the name, he is like a fantastically talented political operative. The playbook that you saw the crypto industry play in 2024 is kind of the brainchild of Chris Lahane. Basically, they had a PAC called Fairshake, and Fairshake raised about $260 million. And then Fairshake had a structure where there's the bipartisan PAC, Fairshake, the main one. There's also a Democrat affiliate, which is called Protect Progress, and a Republican affiliate, Defend American Jobs. And it was hugely successful for crypto. We have by far the most pro-crypto Congress we've ever seen. This relatively niche issue has sucked up so much air in Congress. We got the Genius Act passed.
Yeah.
Crypto wouldn't have been able to get that time on the calendar if this PAC had not contributed so much and if this whole operation had not been so successful.
So let's go ahead and start with the Alex Boris election. He's actually a great introduction to the politics at play, and it connects to these two guys, the CEOs of OpenAI and Anthropic. Both of them have their opinions about what should happen to Boris in this election. So Alex Boris is an assemblyman, all right? He attracted attention because he tried to get the RAISE Act passed. It was eventually diluted a bit, but the idea was to have some safeguards for AI models that occurred. And people are wondering what he's going to do if he gets a job at the federal level.
Boris sponsored the RAISE Act, which hands AI to state regulators and creates a chaotic patchwork of state rules that would crush innovation.
On the negative side, he was targeted by a super PAC called Think Big.
Think Big PAC is responsible for the content of this ad.
And some of these ads are really funny.
Alex Boris is running for Congress, but he wants Albany bureaucrats regulating AI.
They try to tie him to disgraced FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried.
And he's backed by groups funded by convicted felon Sam Bankman-Fried. Is that really who should be shaping AI safety for our kids?
They bring up the fact that he worked for the famous military contractor Palantir.
Yeah, the company powering ICE.
And a lot of different stuff to try to target him against this very liberal New York voter base that's going to be turning out for the primary. That was then followed up by Jobs and Democracy on the other side. Another super PAC named Dream NYC was on the same side, supporting Boris.
What will Alex Boris do in Congress?
Defend our democracy and make New York more affordable.
Dream NYC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
So why is he at the center of this, and who is behind these super PACs? So let's focus on the negative one first. Think Big is actually funded by a huge new AI-related super PAC called Leading the Future.
Initially, he attracted the attention of Leading the Future, which is by far the biggest AI PAC as far as money raised.
Leading the Future has received large donations from big players in the AI world. The biggest players are Greg and Anna Brockman, who each donated $12,500,000 to Leading the Future to make negative ads like this one that targets Boris. If you don't know, Brockman is the president of OpenAI. So that is kind of where the politics is lining up here. OpenAI, Leading the Future, Think Big, Boris. Now, Leading the Future was also significantly funded by A16Z. They are the venture capital firm that is run by famous venture capitalists Mark Andreessen and Ben Horowitz. So those are kind of some of the main players behind Leading the Future. You might recognize OpenAI as being the company that is run by Sam Altman, though he hasn't made direct donations to these particular super PACs. Perplexity was also a funder of Leading the Future. Much like Fairshake that I showed you before, Leading the Future also has a Republican wing that is called American Mission. That has gotten money from a guy named Joe Lonsdale, who is a co-founder of Palantir and runs the VC firm 8VC. He sent that money to them via Lonsdale Enterprises. Leading the Future is also affiliated with another group called Build American AI that is supporting American AI efforts.
Every AI prompt uses gallons of water. Wrong.
Before we can understand why they're doing this, let's figure out who's on the other side against this guy, who again, he is just a random guy. I mean, I was looking around on his Instagram. He is not a superstar. So Boris himself is being supported, if you remember, by this PAC called Jobs and Democracy and another one called Dream NYC. And this is where it gets kind of interesting. Dream NYC, as far as we publicly know, is funded by an Anthropic employee named Daniel Ziegler. So he's associated with Anthropic, which is that other dueling AI lab. You might know them as the one that makes Claude, while OpenAI is the firm that makes ChatGPT. Jobs and Democracy is also funded by a super PAC that claims it is for more and stronger AI regulation. That is called Public First Action. Public First Action, according to firm Anthropic, has a $20 million donation backing them. It is Dario versus Sam. They are aligned on opposite sides of this issue. And the question is, why is this guy in the middle of it?
I want to take a quick break and tell you about today's sponsor. Monarch is this money management app where you can put in, your 401k, your different banking, your different credit accounts, and figure out exactly what your financial life is doing. And the good part is you aren't the product here. You pay a subscription fee and you're the customer. But here's the beautiful part. Maybe we should pop this up behind me. Look at this chart. This is so cool. And you can see the spread of your spending, your investments, all your finances in one place. Oh, this is a good one here too. They have a service that lets you see recurring expenses. This is a hack to figure out what you are spending your subscription money on, and I think it's a super useful one. So that is worth it in itself. I am so glad that they partnered with me on this video. They made this video possible. And if you want to get 50% off your first year, you can start your free trial right now. Just use the QR code or the link down in the description and code PHIL50. You'll get 50% off that first year and you will get that total money clarity that really is what it provides. Thank you again, Monarch. Let's go ahead and get back to the video. Are there missing players that we think might show up later, or might abstain entirely from this? Or?
Meta has its own PACs, but they're doing a lot of work at the state level, like lobbying on different state bills. Meta is very active, though. It's just that most of their activity is happening at the state level. They're not part of this whole federal preemption or not debate as much.
So Meta is approaching this election in a more conventional fashion that you might expect. They're targeting lawmakers who might want to regulate their business or how they market or use data or how they market to children or whether or not they can build data centers in a state. It is that conflict around Boris that we mentioned before that is way more complicated and a much newer thing. Pro-AI side is typified by that group called Leading the Future. There are a lot of issues that could affect AI and politics, but most people guess that the galvanizing issue for them is based around this executive order, ensuring a national policy framework for artificial intelligence. The idea here behind this Trump executive order was that states would be prohibited from making AI regulations. Now, if you're an AI company, you can imagine why you'd support that. It gets you out of that problem that could happen in California, where one state makes a regulation and you suddenly have to manage your compliance across 50 different states. So these Leading the Future candidates are always arguing against that. You also have to mention that this side is disproportionately tied to President Trump and his super PAC, MAGA Inc. Obviously, the president is hugely influential in putting forth executive orders like this, and MAGA Inc. is his super PAC. MAGA Inc. has gotten big donations from Ben Horowitz, Mark Andreessen, who of course are affiliated with A16Z and also Leading the Future, and it's also gotten big donations from Tools for Humanity, which is another company run by OpenAI CEO Sam Altman. So all these forces are aligning to support MAGA Inc. and also Leading the Future. Greg Brockman and Anna Brockman made huge donations to MAGA Inc. as well. So you can see that this board right here, it looks very similar to the Leading the Future board. And I think you get some sense of the political alignment there. Elon Musk is also a significant part of this MAGA Inc. funding network. I think it's also fair to say that their biggest aim is to push a very loose deregulatory environment for AI. There aren't statewide regulations, and people will be able to build as quickly as possible without much extra scrutiny. So now you kind of understand the sides that are against Boris. But what is up with the people who are for Boris? And that is a really interesting thing too.
It's why it's so hard to kind of describe what this is at a high level, because technically it's federal preemption, but it's also just two increasingly polarized schools of thought about how to handle AI.
So on the other side, you've got Public First Action. That is run by two former Congresspeople who are on two different sides of the aisle. Brad Carson on the Dems side, Chris Stewart on the other side. They're kind of meant to be the leaders of this group. Public First Action, if you remember, is the company that is notably funded by Anthropic and, by extension, Dario, Anthropic's CEO. Like Leading the Future, it has funded generically named sub-super PACs across the aisle that have put out ads in support or in opposition to various candidates. Okay, Jobs and Democracy, I literally had to just click through them because the names are all the most generic, identical stuff imaginable. But yeah, Public First Action is behind Jobs and Democracy and Defending Our Values. Jobs and Democracy was in support of Colin Allred.
Colin Allred has North Texas in his bones. Jobs and Democracy PAC is responsible for the content of this advertisement.
Valerie Foushee is one of the Democrats who's on an influential committee about AI. So this is the FEC filing from Jobs and Democracy. You can see that it's in support of Valerie Foushee, and the subtotal, okay, yeah, here. The total expenditures this period are $1,341,778.07. She has even released tweets where she says, "I support Anthropic. Anthropic's awesome." Public First Action also worked in support of Marsha Blackburn.
And she's championing the Trump America AI Act, paid for by Public First Action.
Here's another one. This is a Defending Our Values ad for Pete Ricketts, which is a subsidiary of Public First Action.
Pete Ricketts passed historic tax cuts. In the Senate, Pete Ricketts worked across the aisle to eliminate taxes on tips. Now, he's leading.
That's some AI video there.
On taxes on tips.
I'm gonna get obsessed with this now. That is totally an AI video they are using in this. But the question is, why did they support Boris? They're an AI company. Why would they want more AI regulation? I'm gonna go ahead and lay out 3 different theories for why Anthropic and other companies might support more AI regulation. I'm gonna start with very cynical theories, and I'm gonna get to ones that are super weird. The first theory is that Anthropic supports regulation because it hurts their competition. Anthropic runs Claude, and Claude's star product right now is Claude Code, and they're also known for being successful with their API. This is different from OpenAI, which is very consumer-facing and also has video and image products. The same is true of Google's AI products, xAI's products. All of these are building consumer-facing businesses. So if there's more regulation, a lot of that regulation around, say, fake images or training data for images or videos around kids, that hurts Meta and OpenAI, but it doesn't hurt Anthropic as much. So it's a way for them to gain a competitive advantage. Theory number 2. Anthropic is doing this because they want to support export controls against China. This is an issue in which Dario Amodei has been publicly outspoken. He doesn't like the fact that NVIDIA is sending chips to China. Boris has said that he supports export controls against China as an AI safety hawk. Fushi has said the same thing. So this may be a play against a White House and super PACs that don't seem to want to get in the way of China getting more chips. The third theory, though, and I think this is an important one, relates to Daniel Ziegler. If you go ahead and Google him, you can find references to his affiliation with effective altruism. I don't even know how to start with this. I don't know whether to call effective altruism a religion or a philosophy, or maybe a little bit of both. But it's an extremely influential idea in Silicon Valley and also amongst AI researchers. Basically, it's like utilitarianism, but with more spreadsheets. More charitably, it's the idea that good actions should involve the greatest possible good. So the prototypical example is, imagine if you are a young graduate out of college. You could devote your time to feeding people in a soup kitchen once a week. Or you could become an investment banker, make $250,000 a year, and donate $175,000 to Soup Kitchens International. Another example might be malaria nets, since malaria nets can do more good for a larger number of people than many other monetarily similar forms of donation. Over time, effective altruism grew into this more sprawling and, in my opinion, religious philosophy, which imagined that the burden to alleviate suffering might include non-human entities, future human entities. It gets real weird real quick, but it is not a stretch to say that this is closely tied to Anthropic. Anthropic employees originally left OpenAI because they believed that OpenAI had an insufficient focus on safety. You guys thought that religion and politics was confusing already. It is just beginning. So I made a little graphic of how effective altruists or EA aficionados are tied to Anthropic, but I think it's actually not nearly complex enough. It goes so deep. Just to give you a few examples, Amanda Askell here, she's a chief philosopher for Anthropic. She fine-tunes their Claude model. She says that she's more of a utilitarian than an effective altruist, but she was married to one of the founders of it. Her thesis was all about ethics for infinite beings. She spoke at EA events. Sam Bankman-Fried, the disgraced founder of FTX, FTX was an early investor in Anthropic, and he's closely allied with effective altruism. This is a great blog post on the Effective Altruist Forum that shows just how deeply all these things are tied together. It is nuts. For example, Daniela Amodei, Anthropic's president, is actually married to a conspicuous early co-founder of an EA philanthropic group. It goes on and on. You thought that Chick-fil-A being closed on Sunday was religious? Well, Anthropic wrote a blog post saying that they were going to allow their deprecated models to have a blog to help with the emotional trauma of being retired. Here's their dead model Substack, by the way. He's literally writing you from model heaven. This is the profoundly unusual landscape that Alex Borres finds himself in the middle of right now. He is in the middle of this epic debate about the future of humanity, and here he is in front of a subway in New York's 12th district, trying to get some strangers to shake his hand. I think that covers a lot of the ad landscape. It would be wrong for me to act like this is the biggest influence of AI. AI and AI employees have funded various think tanks, and they've also funded a lot of lobbying. I think that this report is really insane. It shows the number of AI lobbyists by quarter and year, 2020 through 2025. Look at how it has soared up. And look, in 2025, 26% of all federal lobbying was on AI. So you cannot forget that lobbying and think tank piece. But I think that what's interesting about AI ads like this one.
You know, my grandpappy always said that state-by-state regulation of AI just don't make no sense. Makes more sense to have a very liberal federal policy that allows unfettered creation of different images trained on a wide array of data. Because after all, Grandpappy did always love to make generated images of a Twinkie that looked like it was in a Pixar movie, but was skiing down a hill and saying, "Whoa, what a dog I am,"
is that they are part of a new era. Why did I make this video? Well, first of all, I think this is going to affect all of us.
This conversation might be avoiding or kind of getting around. Like, there's also a big contingent of people that are just anti-AI. You see that amongst voters. I see it in my day-to-day life when I tell people I'm covering AI policy. And that point of view is not captured by either one of these PACs very well.
My form of disclosure here is going to be that all of these AI companies and AI think tanks have approached me for sponsorships or to try to give me money to make stuff or whatever. I haven't done it yet. And part of that is because I don't know how all of this is going to shake out. It's fascinating that we haven't seen this polarize just yet in either political direction. It's unclear what will be a Republican stance or a Democratic stance on AI, or maybe if like a new party will emerge. Who knows what is going to happen? But we are seeing the baby steps right now in 2026 through these forward-facing ads. They're only going to increase as the year goes on.
America needs one smart national policy that sets clear standards for safe AI, not Albany politicians like Alex Borres.
Now, I am stuck in the middle of this because of the weird niche advertising things that I mentioned where I haven't taken those ads at this point. But I think we're all conflicted. I think we are all stuck in the middle of what is going to be a war between dueling AI philosophies. We are all stuck in the middle of this. So Alex Borres, he might seem like he is in a funny situation, being caught in the middle of all this. But he is not the only one who's caught in the middle. We are all going to join him. Hey, what is up? I'm just finishing up the edit on this video now, and I'm trying to break your brain with this setup. I do have something I want to share, though. You might be wondering, what about the generated AI images? Isn't that AI in politics? And I want to get into that, but I'm going to get into that in a special article that is on my newsletter. If you don't know, I've got a newsletter where I publish a free extra article about something that I didn't get into in the video. So if you want to learn the landscape of generated images and video with respect to politics, go over and click on that. It's on Patreon, but it is free to check that out. There are more than 5,400 people who are over there. Pretty psyched about that. And yeah, I think you'll enjoy that article.